Our first guest tonight spent 7 seasons in a fictional Washington, D.C. that used to seem crazier than the real one. She's with us tonight to calm us down. Please welcome Kerry Washington. Hi, Kerry.
Hi, Jimmy.
How you doing?
I love this version of Guillermo.
Yeah, this is drunk Guillermo. This is post-show Guillermo.
I'm so happy, Kerry. We're gonna win.
I agree with you, Guillermo. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Kerry, tell us about how you're feeling right now.
I'm feeling I'm feeling a lot of things, like a lot of us. But one thing I'm really proud of is how many Americans showed up. Like, more Americans voted in this election than ever before. More people voted for Joe Biden than any other president in U.S. history. So despite COVID, despite voter suppression, despite intimidation, we showed up at the polls. And I'm really proud of that.
Were you surprised at all by how close it was?
You know, I mean, the metaphor I've been using a lot with friends is that leading up to Election Day, it felt like we were all awaiting the results of a biopsy. I read that on Twitter somewhere, and I was like, oh, I relate to that. That's how it felt. I love what you tweeted about, like, it's like being in surgery while you're awake, that too.
Yeah, it felt like that. It really did.
Yeah, it really did. But I think, you know, when you're waiting the results of a biopsy, it's because you need to find out how serious the cancer is, right? And we got to see, like, we are dealing with some serious cancers in this country with racism and misogyny and homophobia and anti-Semitism, and you can go on and on, just selfishness, materialism. So,
and these are just the things Donald Trump puts on his Tinder profile.
Yeah, exactly. So it's great to be able to see it, like, once you get that result from the doctor, then you can make a plan. So we can see what's out there. We know what we're dealing with, and we fight, not literal fight. We stay calm and peaceful, right, but we can have a strategic plan.
You worked very hard on this election. At least it seemed like that to me. It really seemed like it was a full-time job for you.
My husband said the same thing.
Yeah.
He was like, you have another job, as if you don't already have a job. I was working really hard on it, yeah.
Well, good for you for doing that. I think you might have visited more cities this week than Joe Biden did. Where were you?
I was, over the past 2 weeks, I was in North Carolina, Arizona, and Michigan.
North Carolina, Arizona, and Michigan. And when you get there, like, what do you say to people? Are you meeting with volunteers? Are you speaking in front of a group? What are you doing exactly?
Well, it's all different in COVID times because everybody's wearing masks and you're 6 feet apart from folks. But yeah, I was, just really, I spent a lot of time cheering on the volunteers because you have so many people on the ground, community organizers who are going out there, encouraging people to know how much their vote matters. So it was really like cheering on those folks to say, it's one thing to vote, it's another thing to really get in the trenches and do the work. And I'm so grateful, because I don't live in a swing state, that people are willing to do that work in swing states, to not just to, like, say, vote for this guy, but to say to voters, you matter. Your vote matters. Like, for democracy to work, we need you to show up, to every single person.
Where did you watch the coverage yesterday?
On my couch.
At home. Did you eat
Yeah.
a whole bag of Halloween candy like I did?
I did. It was so bad that there's so much candy right now in my house.
Yes.
Good.
Did your kids watch with you? Were they watching this as it went on?
So not really. We didn't have it on all day. We tried to keep it just on our personal devices all day, but we do talk a lot about it. We talk a lot about the election in my house. And they actually did their own election at school where they were voting for the best dessert. So they were walking around on Tuesday with I voted stickers too, but their stakes were a little bit lower. It was like strawberry ice cream, sugar cookies, and brownies.
Well,
it was a different stakes.
The pumpkin pie didn't win yesterday, that's for sure. So, Kerry, as far as, thanks, guys. As far as, I think when I tell a particularly stupid joke, you laugh just to rub it in, right? To call attention to it. Because, you know what? I have to say, we had the television on, and, of course, our kids are like, could we watch something that we want to see? And, we try to explain what's going on. But we don't really know what to say when we see Donald Trump. And the kids are aware that we're not fans, but we don't like to say, curse words in front of them, and we don't want to scare them really, because it can be scary when you're a kid and you think about who the president of the country is and what that represents to like a 6-year-old. So how do you handle that with your kids?
I mean, we do talk about bad guys and good guys. They know what superheroes are, and they know that in our house, superheroes are the people who vote and the people who work at the polls and the people who community organize and leave the world a better place. And bad guys are people who, I haven't been this specific with them, but separate families and, take away healthcare. But I have said, when they were asking a lot when we were getting on planes to go to all these places, because obviously we're not traveling a lot in COVID. What I said to them was, we really want to go places to help people know how important their voice is and that they need to vote, because the reason the person who's in the White House is there now is because not enough people voted. And our kids were like, well, why didn't they vote? And we said they didn't know how much they mattered. So we try to talk about it in ways that are not scary. But my mom used to take me into the polling booth with her when I was a kid. And it was like, I thought she was Oz, because she went behind these curtains and she pulled levers. And I was like, my mom is magic. She has all this power. So we try to keep them involved.
My daughter yesterday was looking at the news, and she saw Donald Trump, and she goes, what's his real name? And my wife said, well, what do you mean? It's Donald Trump. She goes, oh, but what's his last name? And she said, it's Trump. And she goes, his first name is Donald? I think the duck is really the only place she knows it otherwise. So that's as deep as we got with the kids.
Good, okay, great.
I think you're ahead of us in that category. All right, Kerry, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. More with Kerry Washington when we return.
Democracy in the house.
The second reason to vote early is to avoid long lines.
Is that why you and Mom go to the airport like 3 hours early ahead of time?
My daughter and my son-in-law have really given us a difficult time.
That is Kerry Washington and her dad, Earl, and with his Earls of wisdom.
Yes.
Your dad's one of those guys that likes to be there well in advance of when he needs to?
Oh, my goodness. If he could sleep there the night before, he would. But not in like a airport hotel, just like on his luggage by the McDonald's.
You mentioned your mom taking you into the voting booth. Did your dad also get you interested in civics and being a good citizen and those sorts of things?
I remember when I was 18, my parents actually took me out to dinner to celebrate that I could vote. It's a big deal in my family. And my dad leaned over and he said, now, you never, ever have to tell anybody who you're voting for. And I was like, oh, cool. And he was like, who are you voting for? So he's always been invested.
Have you ever voted differently from your parents?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I think of myself as being like, I don't know, more progressive or like, more badass somehow. But I think mostly we voted the same way. I remember, though, when Barack Obama was running, they were really scared for him. Like they were of a generation that was worried that something would happen to him. And so I remember like really encouraging them to embrace this moment and know that it was possible.
And let him make that decision for himself, I guess, yeah.
Yes.
You spoke at the Democratic National Convention in August, I think. And while you were speaking, you talked about your 8th grade history class. And then I understand your teacher from that class got in touch with you on Twitter, which I assume she was excited.
She was thrilled. And it was so funny because I actually remember when I was going through the script, they said that I had learned it in 6th grade. And I was like, no, people might be watching who know. We should say that it was later. And then she was watching. She was so excited that it had an impact on me. Like I really think about that preamble of the Constitution a lot. It's very meaningful for me, those first 3 words.
It's all you could ever ask for as a teacher, really, that the student was listening and carried on with what you taught them, especially a history teacher.
Well, I think what really hit me in that class was this idea of learning that it's true that when they wrote the Constitution, they said we the people, but it was really just like white guys with property. Like even poor white guys weren't included in the We the People.
Yeah.
And we've fought throughout history for that We the People to be more and more and more of us. So I think it had a real impact on me that I was like, I'm part of We the People.
What grade did you get in her class? Do you remember?
I think it was 8th grade.
No, I mean, what letter grade did you get?
Oh, what? What grade did I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I was like an A-B student, so it was probably in there.
Okay. Carrie, before we go, I want to ask you, because you know things, like what can we do now? The election is, essentially over. We voted, we did all, what's next?
Well, I think the most important thing we can do right now is be patient. Right? Like we have to just wait while the votes are counted. It's really important that we trust our local election officials. This is really going the way we thought it was going to go, even down to the current resident of the White House. His reaction is what we thought it was going to be. So we're prepared for this. We need to really be patient. Let the votes be counted. This is not a time for protest at this moment. Like this is a time to have faith in the system. And even when we feel like we might be nervous to have faith in the system, we can have faith in each other and holding those systems accountable. So stay calm, stay in community. Don't believe everything you hear on the internet. Make sure you get your information from trusted sources, and know that we, these people, these elected officials, they work for us. When we pay our taxes, we pay their salaries, those of us who pay our taxes. And so we're the boss, right? We're the boss.
Well, thanks, Kerry. Thanks for all your work, for taking this on as a second job. And I love your artwork, too. You've really done some incredible things on the bulletin board.
It's not as advanced as you would think for a woman in her 40s,
no,
but I try.
But the important thing is you're enjoying yourself. Kerry Washington, everybody. Thank you, Kerry. We'll be back with Senator Cory Booker. Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. An evil wizard has trapped me inside this YouTube video. Click subscribe to help me escape.